Stanley Scott with the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank. I'm happy to be here today. I'm very proud to be in this position to speak to an outstanding gentleman who's going to be leading our city, our community, our neighborhood into the 25th century. Now, people say, what, the 25th? Yeah. Because we thinking ahead, being proactive. That's very important. So, I'd like to introduce, which you probably already know, because he has been doing a great job in the community. We'll talk about his accolades and add that later on in the video. Nahshon Nix, running for City Council, District 7, East Side, as they say, in Jacksonville, Florida. By me being a native from Jacksonville, Florida, I know the East Side. We used to call it Florida Avenue, but it's going to always be Florida Avenue. But right now we're on A. Phillip Randolph, and we are sending this information out to the city of Jacksonville. First question I have for you, my good man. Tell the people a little bit about you.
My name is Nahshon Nix, originally from upstate New York. I graduated from high school in a little town called Folkestone, Georgia. I came to Jacksonville for college. I graduated from Edward Waters College, 2006 senior class president. I have a bachelor's in education, a master's in theology, and a master's in leadership management. I've owned my own child care facility. I have my own business as a contractor for Duval County Public Schools. I teach social and emotional learning through martial arts. My prior experience works in post-secondary education as a college president. And I've taught every subject from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I'm currently the social service coordinator for Hollybrook Homes and Apartments. It is the only HUD property in the state of Florida that's backed with family support services. I'm all about helping our communities transition and transcend into self-sustainability.
Oh, so when you say transcend, what do you mean?
The Jeffersons, I don't know if you ever watched the episode of Jeffersons, but they like, moving on up. We don't want our people to go from pillar to post.
Right.
Most self-made millionaires, according to Thomas J. Stanley, come from healthy, functional families. And it's impossible to have healthy, functional families in destabilized communities. So when I say move up, I want them to move up and transcend into an empowered state where they're economically sound, they have financial literacy, they have marketable skills. The children are not always playing catch up pertaining to their grade levels. They're at grade level or above, where the family unit is performing as a whole. That's my vision for District 7 and for the city of Jacksonville, to where we have self-sustained families and communities.
Right. Outstanding. And when it comes to family infrastructure, as we call it with the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank, what name 3 important points when it comes to family infrastructure that you think are very important? Not what we think, that's what you think.
Okay. Well, from my experience being in Washington Heights apartments, Hollybrook Homes apartments, and working through the public, private, and charter schools to listen to parents and their concerns, I believe some of the biggest challenges for our adults is a livable wage, meaning that $9 an hour is good when you're in high school and you live with your mother, but $9 an hour is not enough to raise 3 children, especially if you're dealing at it from a single parent, not necessarily co-parent, but from a single parent perspective, and you're the sole provider for your household. $9 an hour is not going to cut it. That would be number 1. Number 2 is affordable housing. When I say affordable housing, it's not, when you look at HUD properties and you're a single parent, those waiting lists can be a year or 2 years before you're able to move into a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom. So affordable housing is key, making sure that our communities and our families are plugged into like a NACA. I don't know if you're familiar with NACA.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
NACA.
Mm-hmm.
They help families find houses and become self-sustaining to where it's not necessarily credit-based, it's income-based housing. And I would like to see more programs and services to where people can go from off of HUD properties into their own property, and then making sure that their children are at grade level. Those are some of the biggest concerns. A lot of our children in low-income communities and low-performing communities, which are typically urban communities, their challenge is that their child has an IEP, which is an individual education plan, and making sure that that child is getting the services that they need to be a productive citizen. So those would be my top 3.
Yeah, the top 3 when it comes to family infrastructure. Second component in the African American think tank is education, critical thinking education. Give us 3 points when it comes to education that you think are the most important.
And that's a great question, Doc. I talked to a group of young men last night. I believe one of the biggest points pertaining to education is tapping into our youth learning styles. Meaning that you have the audio learners, the visual learners, the hands-on learners, Montessori learners, which are typically like group learning, and then you have the autodidact. Autodidact, I believe every human being has that autodidact learning style at some point in their life where they're making self-discoveries. For example, George Washington Carver was autodidact. No one taught him about the peanut, but he came up with 300 different patents. Benjamin Banneker, who outlined Washington, D.C., Farmer's Almanac. Like, this man was able to teach himself based on seasons and star alignments. Not only that, you look at folks like Malcolm X. They said that he was given a lecture in Great Britain, and somebody asked him, "What college did you attend?" His response was, "Books." Then you look at Frederick Douglass, autodidact. He was born a slave, but he taught himself how to read. And the first successful neurosurgeon to separate conjoined twins at the brain where both lived was autodidact by the name of Dr. Ben Carson.
Correct.
And he told his college professors, "Look, I'm not getting it. Let me study at home. And so that you know I got the lesson, I'll take my test with the rest of the class."
Right. That's outstanding.
Yeah, so, but like I said, so number 1 would always be tap into learning style. Number 2, environmental learning. I'm very big on environmental learning. I've taught hydroponics and aquaponics where our youth are able to have a hands-on approach to science. And you and I always talk about STEAM, or STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And I use the A for STEAM for agriculture or art. And I believe that our youth, they have to be able to touch it, feel it, so that way they can get those different modalities of learning with that. And then technology. Technology is huge. There's 100 Microsoft stores in the world. 100. We have one in Jacksonville and St. John's Town Center. I asked them if they'll be willing to partner with me to help bring Microsoft's technology to the urban core to help our youth and children advance in automation, where things are going anyways, to where instead of them playing catch up, they can actually be ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve. So those would be my 3 things. Number 1, tap into learning styles. Number 2, STEAM or STEM. And then number 3, utilizing the fact that we have a Microsoft store here in Jacksonville and using their technology that they use for video games like the Xbox. Xbox is owned by Microsoft. Not only that, for our professionals that use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. When you look at communication, Skype is owned by Microsoft. So my objective is to infuse technology into the urban core, so when it comes to minorities and African Americans, they're not behind the curve, we're ahead of the curve. This is about us moving to improve Doc.
I stand it. I'm definitely impressed, and it definitely takes a lot to impress me. And so we're going to continue here with number three. Number three is preventive health care. You hear a lot of people talking about health care after the fact. With the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank, we are into preventive health care. Walking, eating the proper food, and the whole 9 yards. But the main point here, when it comes to that component, what do you think?
As I mentioned earlier, I teach martial arts. Not only is it good physically, it's good mentally. You have what you call endorphins that kick, that release a chemical in the brain. So you have those endorphins, and then you have what you call cytosine, which it kind of gives off a sensation to make you relax. Our challenge, especially in the African American community, my mother struggled with crack cocaine and substance abuse. If we were preventative, you can almost create that state of mind in a natural high if our culture was infused in healthy living.
That is correct.
But you talk about walking, Jacksonville is one of the most deadliest cities pertaining to pedestrians.
That's right.
So we got to make sure that our communities are safe, they're well lit, we have adequate sidewalks, and I partner with Groundworks Jacks and the Emerald Necklace to where we can bring bike lanes and walking lanes and bike trails into the urban core to where minorities and African Americans can benefit from healthy living and a healthy lifestyle. Not only that, I also want to talk about substance abuse. I also partner with Drug Free Duval and educating people that if you have a family member like my mother, typically if somebody relapses, we alienate them or we push them out. You know, I knew she wasn't serious. I knew he wasn't serious, but that's really when they need us the most to pull them back in, Doc. And educating people to let them know that relapse is a part of recovery.
Correct.
And it's going to take people typically about 4 to 5 times before they actually kick the habit. And educating the community, because what they learn when they go to rehab, we don't know that in the community. So we want to make sure that families are educated from a preventative. There is no more DARE programs. So just letting our youth and young people know, look, say no to drugs. But not just say no, but this is why. And then if you are able to identify what drugs do, you understand that, listen, this is where I love this person. This is how I show love to this person, to where they know that they're valued even though they're struggling with a habit. And another thing pertaining to healthcare, I partner with Agape, Family Medical Services, to where we were able to do 60 physicals over the summer for young people, whether their parents did or did not have healthcare coverage, healthcare insurance. So I'm very active in making sure, because the best way to fight a disease is to prevent a disease. And I'm all about prevention.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. Very impressed. Very impressed. My main thing, my main point over the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank is economic, cooperative economics. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes, Mr. Nix, and talk about economics, what we can do in Jacksonville, especially on the North Bank, where most African Americans live, and what they can do for themselves. I'm going to open up the floor. It's going to be 2-part question here. First part is I'm going to ask you to share your ideas, your plans, your agenda for the future as a city council. District 7. And then on the end of that, I'm going to chime in with you and throw some things out of what we can do together because we have definitely signed on. The African American Economic Recovery Think Tank has signed on with you, City Councilman. And I'm going to call you City Councilman because in my mind, in my vision, I see you as a very important part, not just today, tomorrow, but the future. And starting out, we're going to just talk about your future, your plans for the future. Sorry about that, your plans for the future. Then we'll come back around and finish it up as a little back and forth as far as economic development, cooperative economics. So please give me what you think we should do to improve the condition for everybody in District 7.
Okay. Within District 7, you have the urban core, which is where you find some of the highest homicides. 3 incidents that I can think of quickly. Pearl Street with the shooting of the mother, Pippin Street where you had the shooting not too far from Jaguar Stadium. Then you had the mass shooting at the Jacksonville Landing. All were in District 7.
Correct.
Okay? So my objective is I believe in fighting crime by fighting poverty. I call it Code Red. Code Red. R-E-D. Rapid Economic Development. For our young people, especially those that are truant. And that's why I'm not big on all these task force that are nothing but a talk force and nothing ever gets done. So I'm real big on going after truant students because if they're truant and they're in those early development stages, we want to make sure that they're not out learning the wrong thing.
Correct.
So if they want to make a living and support their moms or support their families, I want them to have gainful employment opportunities or learn a marketable skill. So I believe in tackling truancy with trades. So that way if they don't graduate from high school, they're not a detriment to society, they're actually an asset to society because they have a marketable skill. So tackling truancy with trades, I want our young people to swap handguns, pick up some nail guns, and help us rebuild our communities. I interviewed with First Coast manufacturers. One of the biggest things that's going on within the next 8 to 10 years, 50% of the manufacturers will be retiring. We don't have enough people in that field of manufacturing to where we're able to replace the workforce that's going to be retiring. So it's very important, and people say, well, there ain't no money in manufacturing. It's because we haven't been properly educated. So therefore, they start off at $9 an hour, right? However, you can advance and grow to a plant manager, and plant managers make $164,000 a year.
Easy.
So if you educate our young people that, look, it's more than just picking up a stick. I spoke to a group of students at Tulsa Welding School. They have people that come from all over the country because there's only 2 Tulsa Welding Schools. One is in Tulsa and one is in Jacksonville. So they come from all over the country to come to Jacksonville to learn how to weld. But these are some of the things that we don't utilize, the services that we have right here. We have a Florida Job Growth Grant through FSCJ, where the goal is to get people into the manufacturing industry, and then they also assist them with job placement assistance. So I can go on and on because I'm real big about economic viability, self-sustainability, and we look at the fact that in District 7, we have some of the poorest people, but they need to get in the end zone. And when I say the end zone, not just because we got Jaguar Stadium in District 7, but we need to get in the end zone because we got Empowerment Zone, which is federal funds for local issues. We got Hub Zone, which is federal funds for local issues. We got Empowerment Zones, which are federal funded for local issues. And so between Opportunity Zones, Hub Zones, Empowerment Zones, we need to get in the end zone.
Correct. I can agree with that.
And then we have the only foreign trade zone in North Florida with Jacksport. We have no logistics training, no distribution training, and we have 5% export. We are going to get in the export business under my watch. We have ships that come into Jacksonville full, and then they leave Jacksonville empty. And what I've learned is that Miami, now you're looking at South Florida, which is another trade zone. However, truck drivers have a hard time getting in and out of the ports in Miami. So they really have a very slow turnaround time to take another load. But if we got Jacksonville fully operational, they don't have to drive through Jacksonville to get to Tampa. They don't have to go through Jacksonville to get to Miami. We can be doing import and export right out of Duval. And something I learned from you is that we have so many different modalities. We have the highway, I-10, US 1, I-95, all come through District 7.
That's right.
Then we got railway with CSX. And then we got the airway with the airport. And then we got waterway with the St. Johns River to the ocean outlet. We should be the king of distribution in the South.
That's right.
I believe this is the biggest city of this will be the next big city. This is supposed to be the new bold city of the South, but under my leadership, I believe we will actually become self-fulfilling prophecy to where we can make it happen. And thank you for asking that question. I know it was pretty lengthy, but But when you're talking about how we can shift the narrative from being the murder capital to being the earning capital, you got to be able to substantiate your statement. And thank you for listening. And thank you for this opportunity and then I'm going to turn it back to you, but teaming agreements is how we get it done. You use the term cooperative economics. Teaming agreements is all about cooperative.
That's right.
Meaning that you may be a great brick mason, I may be a great electrician, we need a great plumber, and instead of all of our downtown development going to one particular individual, now we're keeping the money local if we're able to cooperate and do those teaming agreements.
I agree with you 100%. Now, I have talked with, so far, every candidate running for office. And I have much respect for all of them. But this is too much pain, especially in the urban core, to waste time. So that's why the African American Economic Recovery think tank is putting all our love, respect, and understanding behind Mr. Nixon. I want to make that clear. I never met you I ran into you running for office. And I am impressed. And most people who know me know I'm a no-nonsense person, because I understand and feel the pain of my community. That's why I'm sitting here today. So anybody who believes in what I do, I'm asking you to vote for Mr. Nixon, because he has a plan. I mean, a written plan. He's very articulate. He's to the point. He do his research. He's open. I mean, when I say open, I'm talking about open to everybody's idea, good, bad, or indifference. It's very important when you have a candidate of this level.